Things have been hot in Chiraq with the talk being about Quando Rondo, now that his homie Lil Toom, who ended King Von's life, is out on bail. R.I.P. Von. But in all this heat, there still is the one man that was a main op with Von while he was still living. His name is known in the trenches, and his connections run deep in the streets. He's known as King Op, FBG Wooski. Today, we're going to dive into his life and why he's considered such a savage that strikes fear in his ops. So how does a kid coming into the world, innocent, pure, become someone that could pull the trigger without hesitation, taking a life, running the streets and tormenting people to the point where they'd hit up a funeral to get him? Well, I asked myself the same thing, and the truth is both sad yet kind of gains respect to see the world some are forced to grow up in. While many believe Wooski's home was always 63rd and Lawrence, he was actually from the very place that he haunted with his savagery. Him and his big bro Big Mike lived in Parkway Gardens, the section of WYIC City and O Block. Crazy thing to note here that plays a huge part in what molded Wooski was that his brother was a BD and Wooski a GD. Might seem strange from the outside, but in these streets that's nothing new. Because Big Mike had love for his lil bro Wooski, he stood as the force that kept him safe in the streets, even after linking with the other side. Wooski started clicking up with STL EBT, who had a heavy beef with WIIC City. At this point, you're probably thinking why switch sides like that, cause dudes don't play with about it. Same thing I was thinking, but Wooski from a young age was in the streets and had savage in his blood. Bro even started rocking with FBG, getting close to Duck and Tuka, RIP to them both. Wooski would begin adopting beef with his new associates, often targeting 2IMB. He would avoid beefing with WIIC City because of his older brother. Really seems like even on opposite ends, their blood ties meant more than the gang code. This, however, was soon to change. Wooski would still dip in WIIC City with STL, but never on murking. Brawls might break out, but the guns never came out. That was until him and some STL members had an altercation one time, and Reezy from WIIC City would lose his life. That was already bad, but what made it worse were rumors that Wooski, 12 years at the time, was the trigger man. And at that point, any protection his big bro would provide was lost. He officially became a top priority for retaliation from a bunch of ops and had to move out of O Block. Now, this would make him even tighter with STL as they took him in. Wooski would end up aiming his firearm towards the place he once lived in a feud between the two sets. Wooski never made light of the situation. In a tweet made by Wooski back then, it could be seen how seriousness things got. This back and forth would lead to him and King Von becoming enemies. The fire under this was fueled when Wooski was a trigger man behind the murking of Von's homie, Patoon. Unable to personally catch Wooski, Von would get the next best thing at the time, Wooski's cousin Modell. The events painted a dark scene, showing just how hungry Von was for revenge. He would not only murk Modell, but leave his cousin with bullet holes, so much so that doctors said intestines fell through their hands when they picked them up. Luckily, Miles somehow survived confined to a wheelchair, but Von accomplished what he came to do and Modell. This would set things in motion that intensified their beef even more, not only towards Von, but Wooski was out for all his ops. Wooski and STL EBT was sliding on the O, and the O was sliding back. It was an endless game of cat and mouse. Through it, Von and Wooski seemed to develop respect for each other, even as rivals. They will go back and forth on Twitter like it was nothing. It's crazy how calm and jokingly they act with so much bad intent in their mind for the other. This is when you see the true nature of how savage Wooski was. He would tally scores in the public with Von about the stats for who has the most bodies. Like it was nothing. What happened next would turn things upside down. Remember Wooski's big bro, Big Mike? He would murk a dude by the name of Malcolm Stuckey with King Von in 2014. This would be the hit that got both him and Von booked with a first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder. This hit home for Wooski, seeing even his bro now turning against him. Wooski's heart was getting colder to human life. Wooski's ops would have a field day on his gang when he was missing in action from 2015 to 2017, having been in the pen on a gun charge. Wooski would soon get his pay back upon his release. The tables were turned. It was now Von who was on the inside fighting his case. Wooski and a couple STL EBT members would catch HK, the headshot king from the O-slipping, while spinning the block for ops. HK would try to run but was murdered before being able to escape with multiple shots about his body. Wooski was out for blood, and every pull of the trigger emptied a bit of his rage and pain. Wooski was now bumped further up the priority list for his ops as he was becoming too much of a threat that was fearless in the streets. Wooski would send threats online saying that Vaughn was next to go. This attracted the attention of Vaughn's homies, who were ready to move for Wooski for his disrespect and placed a bag on his head. But Wooski, being the Chiraq savage he is, didn't give a damn and continued to hunt his ops, even coming to their own hood. Bro was a different breed. Wooski was building confidence in his street authority, even going as far as claiming his invented op blocks like TYMB, O block, and D block. But there still wasn't enough torment to satisfy his hatred for his ops. In January 2018, he would drop the video for the diss track, Computers Remix. The track shot up to popularity, highlighting the Wooski over the beat, disrespecting dead homies and violating his ops and rapping about hits he has done. This only incited more rage, and his ops wasn't going to stand for it. They would slide on Mob Dooski the man, leaving him in a pool of blood with a shot to the head. Dooski was well respected and connected in the streets, and Wooski's ops knew how much he meant to them. The plot that nearly claimed Wooski's life was set in motion. Dooski's funeral created a perfect opportunity for Get Back in full effect. But Get Back was on the minds of both sides because Wooski's crew was heated over Dooski's hit. The clock was ticking, but Von Dem wasn't playing around. They had everything mapped out and was so confident in their retaliation that Von and A-Dog FaceTimed Wooski the day before the funeral and promised they had a surprise for him. The day arrived and Wooski's ops made good on their promise. All hell broke loose. October 2018, bullets would rain down on the funeral and Wooski would collect a hit to the head. Ruger, who was present, would describe the chaotic scene. By some miracle, Wooski would survive. But Vaughn was still rejoicing, finally catching him lacking. The talk was that Wooski had been taken out, but Duck, Wooski's close homie, would dispel all rumors of Wooski's death. Wooski was a fighter for real, enduring rehabilitation to regain his motor skills. His health looked deteriorated, but getting back to his old self. Before long, he was on his feet turning up with the gang. Sadly, Vaughn would lose his life on November 6, 2020 in an altercation with Quando Rondo. Wooski wasted no time dissing his op as a send-off to his grave. Wooski has been laying low since, trying to make a full recovery. After all, he took a shot to the head. It's crazy he's still even functioning back to normal. This near-death experience hasn't stopped him from still being on his dirt. He recently got right back to things, dropping tracks against his ops. One thing for certain, he's earned his street cred. It might lead to his end, but his title as King Op isn't trolling nor capping.